54 years and 8 days. 54 years and 8 days. Many of you know that just in the last few weeks I had the opportunity to go home and be with my family on the occasion of my grandmother's death. And when I did that, I took a couple extra days to spend time with family, and my mom asked me, "Is there something you want to do while you're here?" And I said, "Yeah. I want to go to the 16th Street Baptist Church." I am from Montgomery, Alabama. I grew up in Montgomery, studied in Montgomery, made a life in Montgomery. I'm passionate about the civil rights movement as seen through the eyes of Montgomery. But I had never been to the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham. My parents moved there just a few years ago, and I knew I had to speak in chapel this week, and I hadn't yet really found my inspiration. I kept praying, "God, just show me what I'm supposed to say. Give me something." And so I told my mom, I said, "Let me go to the 16th Street Baptist Church. Maybe there I will find my inspiration." And so we went that Saturday, 54 years and 8 days after the blast that killed 4 little girls at the 16th Street Baptist Church in downtown Birmingham. We had to park a little bit of a way, and so as we walked up on it, again, I'm not familiar with downtown Birmingham, lived an hour and a half away, just didn't know anything about it. And as we walk up on it, my mom suddenly goes, "Oh, I know where we are. This is where we come and serve the homeless meals." Gut check number 1. And as we move into this park, there's about a square block of park that's between us and the church. And so we need to walk through the park. And again, I don't know what I'm in for. All I know is I've got tunnel vision. I'm going to the church. This is where I'm going. And as we walk towards the park and walk into the entrance, I see a sculpture. And then I realize really quickly, you'll go ahead and change the slide, that this is a park dedicated to the civil rights movement that exclusively happened in downtown Birmingham. And this one is a sculpture of attacking dogs. You've got cement, oh yeah, you can see. The sidewalk walks through it, and on either side you've got these dogs jumping at you. Go to the next one. This is a jailhouse. When you walk up on it, you're walking through a sidewalk, and on my left-hand side there's these bars from the jail, and on the right-hand side are these 2 children with the inscription underneath that, "We are not afraid of your jail." So I walked outside of the sidewalk to go get a full view. This is in honor of the Children's Crusade. You see, about this time, and in the early 60s, Dr. King went to Birmingham. He knew this was the hotbed. He knew this is where we needed to make a difference. And so he went to the churches there in downtown Birmingham, and he said, "I need your help. We need to protest. We need to march. We need to fill the jails." The adults were too afraid of one Bull Connor. He's the public safety commissioner there. He's a scary guy. And the families, the adults are going, It's the kids. The kids in the churches stood up and said, "Well, I'll go." And indiscriminately, as these children marched, there's 2 very significant marches that happened in downtown Birmingham just before the bombing, by the way. And they're locked up. More than 1,000 children as young as 6 years old are locked up. By the way, by this point, the media had caught on to what was going on in AKA Birmingham. And so they were covering it, and the rest of America sat in shock. The next one we saw just over the side. As I saw it from afar, and I realize my vision's not perfect, but as I saw it from afar, I thought, those look like machine guns. And I told my mom, I said, "They're not machine guns. I know what they are," but I couldn't help but think, I know what they are because I know their place in history. What about these people that saw these water cannons that were aimed at them? So as we move towards the front of the church, or towards the front of the park to go to the church, the very front of the park, go to the next one, there's these 4 girls, these statues of these 4 girls, and I knew immediately what these were. By this point, I'd figured out what was happening in the park. I knew what was going on. These are the 4 girls that lost their lives at the bombing. And so I stooped down because at the very bottom there's an inscription, and I'm stooping down to read the inscription, and there's these 4 little pictures of the girls. They're school pictures. You guys know what I'm talking about. Sometimes awkward, but these were beautiful. They were adorable little girls, and ranging in age of 11 to 14. And there's pictures and their name, their birth date, and a little bit about it. I love to sing in the choir, wants to grow up and be a teacher, kind of thing. And as I'm stooped down reading this, I suddenly hear my mom, who's standing just next to me and just over my shoulder, say, "Heads up." I had been so engrossed in what I was doing, I was completely oblivious to a man coming across the street yelling at us, "Hey ladies, do you know what you're looking at? Do you see that? Do you know what that is? Hey ladies." I was completely oblivious to it. Now there's 2 reactions here. The first, my mother, who's lived in a large city all of her life, has the appropriate response of stranger danger. My response, I've apparently lived in New York entirely too long, because I'm like, oh, maybe a new friend. This stranger coming and yelling at us, a man yelling at us, hey ladies, I'm kind of like, oh, you have something to tell me. So as he comes up, he asks, "Do you know what you're looking at?" And being the big bad history professor that I am, yeah, these are the girls that lost their lives, blah, blah, blah. And I got the first of many yeah buts. You see, what I didn't realize at first was that this man wanted to tell me the story. He wanted me to listen. And so he gave a little color and told me a little bit and pointed to a rose garden. Did you know that's for Dr. King's wife? And like he's kind of talking about a little bit of stuff here and there. And then he says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, we're here to see the church." And I said, "I'm here from Nebraska, and I really want to see the church. I've never seen it." And he said, "Okay, let's go." So he marches across the street. Why not? Perfect stranger. It's a friendly place. So we go across the street, and he takes us to the corner of the church, which, by the way, there's no way I would have found where the bomb went off. I don't think I would have put it all together. I wouldn't have recognized it, but he took us to the spot. And he shows us where the church was bombed. And as he does that, he's giving us, it's as if he's a tour guide. And he's telling us everything about it. He's talking about the architecture. He's talking about the windows. He's talking about the bomb. Which, by the way, I went back and looked up because I was quite stunned, which this just shows you my arrogance and my apologies. He told me stuff I had never even heard before. So you better believe I went and checked, and this man knows his stuff. You know why? Because he was there. So he shows us where the bomb went off. He shows us the location of it. He shows us everything he could think to share with us. And there's one point I couldn't get my camera out, my phone out fast enough. He grabs my mom's arm. Now again, I'll show you a picture of my mom in just a minute. But my mom, she looks just like me, except for she's got shorter, curlier hair, and she's a little older. Not much. She's really a young lady, I promise. Hi, Mom. And as he grabs her hand, and laces it through his arm. Kind of think about when you go to a wedding and people escort in, you know what I'm talking about? Well, he grabs my mom's arm and he laces it through his arm, and he says, back in the day, in downtown Birmingham, African-American churches, if a woman came in by herself, there was always a man there to greet her, and he would escort her to her seat. Again, these are just cultural things that I didn't know. If you haven't noticed, I'm white. I didn't know these things, and so I learned so much by shutting my trap and letting him tell me. Wish I'd gotten a picture of that. As he begins to share more about it, we're marching around the church, and he's come along the long side, and he's taking us to the front of the church, where he's continuing to talk about different aspects of it, the beauty of it, which, by the way, let me flip the slide. Yeah, this is the church. I've been to the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church a few times in Montgomery. I think I had in my head that that's what this would look like. No. This church is massive. It is gorgeous. I will never forget the 16th Street Baptist Church. It was absolutely stunning. And as he walks us around to the front of the church, he's sharing all these little details that he knows. And he comes up to the front of it, and off to the left is an old parsonage. Now, it's not used for that anymore. I think it's offices or something like that. But it's just this little building. And right in front of the building, ingrained in the sand, or not the sand, the grass that's right there. Flip the screen again for me. Yeah, you can't see it really well. I'm sorry. He bends over and he starts to describe this marker that's there. And the marker was designed by a school kid. There was a contest in Birmingham in the inner city schools that asked children to submit poster work of what they thought of when they thought of the civil rights movement there in Birmingham. And on this poster that won, you've got children, you've got sunshine and clouds, you've got Dr. King, and you've got a Klansman. It's filled with details that a child should never, ever know. And he's going through this and showing us everything. By the way, I forgot to mention to you that the day that the bomb went off, September 15th, 1963, it was a church day. These girls were there for church. They were in the bathroom preening and prepping for church. The sermon for that day was supposed to be a love that forgives. When he finished describing this marker, we're kind of up on a little bit of a ledge. It was higher than a curb. It was probably 1.5 to 2 feet above the ground. And so I stepped back and I turned to help my mom down. And when I turned back, this is what I saw. Josh, flip the screen again for me. This is my mom, and this is my new friend, Andrew. Andrew is a homeless man in downtown Birmingham. He's a veteran. He struggles with bipolar and other substance abuse issues. And he told us he spends his days outside the church to tell the story. And when I stepped down, I just barely missed it. He grabs my mom's hands and says, "Can we pray?" And she, of course, says yes. I got my phone out fast enough that time. I asked Mom when she got down, I said, what did he pray? And she said it was just a simple, beautiful prayer, thanking God for us. Thanking God for the opportunity to share. And all we could say, Mom and I, as we're talking, as we're walking back to the car, was that should have been our prayer. Thank you, God, for Andrew. Thank you for the lessons he shared. Thank you for shaking me to my very core. You see, I asked God for inspiration, but what he gave me was a good shakedown. I didn't even know I needed it. There's 2 pretty valuable lessons I learned from Andrew on this day, which frankly, I'm narrowing it down for time because I could probably go on for a while about the things I learned from this man. Number 1, I learned the art of listening. I learned to shut my mouth and listen. He had a story to tell that I would have heard from no one else. He was generous and kind with his words and his lessons, but he was honest. He wasn't harsh. He could have been very angry and bitter towards us. What are you 2 white women doing here? He was anything but. I also learned the value of awareness. I learned more than just words. I learned passion, conviction. He is a beautiful man, and I will never, ever forget Andrew and the lessons he taught me. He taught me to look at more than just where the bomb went off, more than just the 4 girls. For instance, he said, "Did you look down at the sidewalk?" No, I did not look at the sidewalk. Flip the screen for me. The sidewalk was not just a sidewalk. Embedded in the sidewalk were bricks. These bricks were laid intentionally. They are red, yellow, black, and white. He said they did that because in those children's crusades where these kids were marching and being arrested just for being kids on the street, they would chant, "Red, yellow, black, and white. We all are precious in God's sight. Red, yellow, black, and white. We all are precious in God's sight." and they were arrested anyway. I would have never noticed that. Would have never noticed it if it had not been for Andrew. Another blessing that came that day, since we had to park so far away, not that we complained, but it was hot. It was Alabama. It was hot. It was miserable hot. We walked out there. We had to walk past the downtown Birmingham Police Department. And painted alongside, if you'll flip the screen for me again, was this really pretty mural. I took a picture of it because I thought it was really pretty, and I didn't think a whole lot about it. I thought I'll go back and look at it later. But it is called the Birmingham Pledge. And I'm going to read it to you because, frankly, this is not just my pledge to you. This is my pledge to me and maybe to Andrew. I believe that every person has worth as an individual. I believe that every person is entitled to dignity and respect regardless of race or color. I believe that every thought and every action of racial prejudice is harmful. If it is my thought or act, then it is harmful to me as well as to others. Therefore, from this day forward, I will strive daily to eliminate racial prejudice from my thoughts and actions. I will discourage racial prejudice by others at every opportunity. I will treat all people with dignity and respect, and I will strive daily to honor this pledge, knowing that the world will be a better place because of my effort. Please join me as I make that pledge today.